जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर सत His Divine Grace अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। श्री श्री गांधर्विका गिरिधारी श्री गौरहरि की जय। श्री लक्ष्मी नरसिंह देव श्री प्रहलाद महाराज की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे। All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories, all glories, all glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादां सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। नमो ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे शेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। मुखं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघायते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरून् दीनतारिणं। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो महावदान्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्ण चैतन्य ने गौरत्विषे नमः। पंचतत्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकम्। आराध्यो भगवान् व्रजेशतनयः Tadhama Vrindavanam Ramya Kachidupasana Vrajavadhu Vargenaya Kalpita Srimad Bhagavatam Pramanamamalam Prema Pumartho Mahan Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhor Matamidam Tatra Dara Na Paraha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandha Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. I'm very happy to be here again in Shri Lakshmi Narasimha Prahlad, Shri Gandharvika Giridhari, Shri Gaurahari Mandir. What do you call it in short? Narasimha Giridhari. So Narasimha Giridhari once again and to be with all of you. I can recognize some of you. Yes. Those whose mobile phones ring will earn the wrath of Sri Nrsingadev and Lord Jagannath also. So it is a great pleasure for me to be here again. And we have the Rath Yatra Mahotsav in Jagannath Puri coming up in just a few days. Actually, the Rath Yatra festival is not just one event. There is a whole series of events happening, and the totality of it all can be called the Rath Yatra festival. Although the actual event of the Rath Yatra happens only on one particular day, but there are a series of festivals and events that lead up to the Rath Yatra. And it all starts with the Snan Yatra, but actually it doesn't start even with that, because there are preparatory ceremonies and other rituals that happen even before the Snan Yatra event happens. In the month of Jyeshtha, in the Tithi of Purnima. So Jyeshtha Purnima is the day on which the Snan Yatra festival of Lord Jagannath, Baladev and Subhadra along with Sudarshan is done in Jagannath Puri. I'm sure you all had a discussion around the time of the Snan Yatra on the importance and significance of this day. Did you have any lecture on the Snan Yatra? Okay. So you all know that the Snan Yatra is the day of the appearance of Lord Jagannath in this particular form. This was the day or the Tithi on which King Indradumna many years ago arranged for the installation, which included the bathing ceremony of these deities, Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra and Sudarshan. So it was a grand event. So you could say it's something like the Brahmotsava of Jagannath Puri temple. Generally in South India, the Brahmotsava is celebrated as the day on which that temple or the deity was installed, the Prana Pratishtha was done. Am I right? So in that sense, you could say that Snan Yatra is the Brahmotsava of Lord Jagannath. Jagannath is a very special deity in many ways. One of the ways is that in the second Parardha, Dvi Parardha of Brahma's lifetime, he is the presiding deity. Parardha refers to the second, the half of Brahma's life. As we all know, Brahma's lifetime is equal to the lifetime of the universe. Or rather, the lifetime of the universe is equal to the lifetime of Brahma. By earthly calculations, it works out to a little over 311 trillion years by our calculations. So the first half of Brahma's lifetime is over. We have begun the second half of his life, or rather that has begun. And in the 51st year of Brahma, we are in the first day of that year. And we are somewhere near the midday of that day of Brahma. Because each day of Brahma has 14 Manvantaras, 14 Manus, starting with Swayambhuva Manu. And then one after the other, there are so many Manus. We are now in which Manvantara? Which number? 7th Manvantara. And who is the Manu here? Vaivasvata Manu. And whose son is he? Vivaswan, the sun god. So Vaivasvata Manu is the current Manu, the 7th Manu. So since there are 14 Manus in one day of Brahma, and since Vaivasvata Manu, who is the presiding Manu for our Manvantara, is roughly halfway through, so we are approximately in the middle of the day of Brahma. In the first day of his 51st year. So this is the second half of Brahma's life. And this whole pastime, which you have heard perhaps many times, about Nila Madhava appearing, being served by Vishva and being discovered by Vishvasu, not actually discovered, but he saw it by the grace of Nila Madhav, but Nila Madhav later ceased to present himself before the vision of mortals. And the second half, because he was the presiding deity in the first half of Brahma's life, and Jagannath is the presiding deity in the second half of Brahma's life. So this is a very important significance of Lord Jagannath. So therefore, the installation ceremony, and which included the bathing ceremony, which became popularly known as the Snan Yatra, and it's called by many other names as well, as you must have heard in that lecture. So that is the day of so much significance. And before that, naturally, since the event is so big, preparations go on for many days before that. So that event on Jyeshta Purnima, which is also called the Deva Snana Purnima, it sets in motion a series of festivals connected to the Rath Yatra. The Rath Yatra is actually the culmination of those series of festivals. After the month of Jyeshta, because you see, the Vedic calendar is computed in different ways. We go by the tithis, and the days we calculate according to the tithis, but the seasons according to the sun, but that's another topic. But our days, the lunar days, are called tithis, and there are 15 tithis, in the first Paksha, first fortnight, 15 Tithis in the second fortnight. And the Paksha means the phase, according to the phases of the moon. So in different parts of India, you will find different ways in which the Vedic calendar is reckoned. So in some cases, they consider Amavasya, or the day of the no moon, new moon, as the last day of the month. In some cases, some calendars, not so common, but they are there, they consider the Ekadashi Tithi as the last day of the month. And in many cases, especially Eastern India and also definitely for Lord Jagannath and for our Sampradaya, the Gaudiya Sampradaya of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we reckon the month that ends on Purnima. So the month that ends in Purnima is called Purnimanta. Purnima Anta. So we follow the Purnimanta system. Some people follow the Amanta system, which is short for Amavasya Anta. Short. So because we follow the Purnimanta system, the last day, the last Tithi of Jyeshtha is a Purnima. So the Purnima month or the Jyeshtha month ends on Snana Purnima, in Snan Yatra day. And which month starts after Jyeshtha in the Vedic calendar? Anyone? Ashad. So it starts, the next month immediately is Ashad. Now what happens after Snan Purnima? And you may all have heard about it. Because the Lord has been bathed in the cool waters of the Sona Kua, the golden well, and he's been standing under the sun, and then you get drenched in cold water, so he catches a cold. And he develops some slight feverish condition. And because he's got some kind of a viral flu or something like that, he has to take rest. So he rests for about 14 to 15 days. So starting from the first Tithi of the month of Ashad, which is Pratipat. Now, which is the first Paksha? You see the Paksha now from Purnima, because the moon is at its maximum brightness, now the moon will start decreasing in brightness. And so that is called the waning moon. It reduces. And what Paksha do we call it? Krishna Paksha. So it keeps waning till it comes to Amavasya, where we can't see the moon. And then from the Amavasya, it again increases until Purnima comes. That's the waxing moon. The brightness of the moon keeps increasing as we see it. So, for the first fortnight, for the first Paksha in the month of Ashad, Lord Jagannath, along with Subhadra and Lord Balaram and Sudarshan, do not give darshan, because now the Lord has fallen sick with viral fever. And therefore he is taken into a separate chamber called the Ratan Vedi, where he is treated by various doctors, Kavirajis. They come and they measure his pulse and blood pressure and temperature and whatever they do, the nadis. Of course, the traditional Vaidyas didn't function according to modern allopathic standards of blood pressure, but they see the nadi and then they come to a diagnosis and then they give a prescription. So Lord Jagannath gets to eat special types of medicinal foods, lots of fruit juices and some herbs that are made out of combination in certain combinations so that he can be revived. And at this time, there are only some very special pujaris who can serve him. They are called the Daitas and the Daitapatis. They are the descendants, Daitas especially, of those who originally served Neelamadhav. So that tradition has come down and it is maintained in the Jagannath temple from that day till today. So what a rich and ancient tradition. And they are generally not from the so-called Brahmana community. The Daityapatis are, but not the Daitas. So these Daitas and Daitapatis, they serve Lord Jagannath in this period, which is called Anavasara. Anavasara. Avasara means occasion or opportunity. But because there is no opportunity for taking darshan of the Lord, an means no, without. So that period of one paksha, one fortnight, is called Anavasara. Because the Lord does not give darshan, He is behind the curtain. Even in our ISKCON temples, wherever Lord Jagannath deities are on the altar, in the period from the Snan Yatra to the Netrotsava, which we'll come to in a few moments, the curtain is placed across. So the Lord does not give darshan at this time. This is, of course, one reason for his not giving darshan and going into seclusion, because he falls sick. Actually, the physical reason is that the paint has been washed off. You see, nowadays, when we paint the deities, we use modern chemical paints. So they are not fast, which means that they stay even if you wash with water. But in the traditional temples, they use only natural pigments as paints. And therefore, the deities are not washed physically with water every day, because the first day that you do that, the paint will be washed away. So what they do is, like wherever there are large deities, you don't actually even hear if the deities are made of marble. For example, Gandharvika, Giridhari and Gaurahari, they are marble. But the abhishek that is done every morning is done for the Utsav Murtis, the smaller deities. So the Utsav deity of Lord Jagannath, do you know the name? Madan Mohan, that's correct. Is not small Jagannath. Generally, if Radha, Gandharvika Giridhari, Radha Krishna, the Utsav Murtis will also be Radha Krishna, small deities. But for Jagannath, the Utsav Murti is Madan Mohan, form of Krishna, which also further indicates that Jagannath is none other than Madan Mohan or Krishna. So, the Abhishek is performed for the Utsava Murtis, but also specifically for the large deities, it is done through a mirror. So, the reflection of Lord Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra in the mirror is bathed. And that is how it is done on a daily basis. But this one time in a year, on Snan Purnima, the physical deity is actually bathed in water. So naturally all the paint gets washed off. And then it doesn't look good. For those who are loving devotees of the Lord, very faithful, for them, okay, they understand this. But especially for new devotees, they may get disturbed. Oh, what is this? How does the Lord look like this with the paint smeared, washed off? So then they have the Hathi Vesh, where they put the trunk of an elephant, and some people say there's a whole pastime about it, which you must have heard at Snan Yatra time, like the elephant, like Ganesh, and so on. In any case, that is physically to cover the appearance of the Lord where the paint has washed. So in this Anavasara period, the Lords are painted with fresh paint, natural pigments. No chemicals are used in Jagannath Puri to this day, and the tradition will not allow that even in the future. So it takes time. Different coatings in different parts of the body are painted. And there are 7 phases of paintings of 2 days each. So that makes 14 days. And then on the 15th day, the last touch-up is done of the paintings. Any little things left here and there, the fine-tuning of the painting is done on the 15th day. Now, which tithi is that 15th day in the month of Ashad? Amavasya. Because we just got over with the Purnima on Snan Purnima. and the Paksha gets over in Amavasya. So the Anavasara period is the period when the Lord is resting for the first Paksha of the month of Ashad. This is a period of great grief for the devotees. Why so? Because they can't have darshan of Lord Jagannath. So the tradition is that they all go to a place called Alarnath, which is some distance away from Jagannath Puri, where there is at least apparently a four-handed form of Lord Vishnu. And in the Sri Sampradaya, they worship Vishnu. And Vishnu is, of course, non-different from Krishna. Vishnu comes in four arms. And amongst the great devotees in the Sri Sampradaya are the Alvars. So, since that deity is somehow or the other connected to the Sri Sampradaya, Lord Vishnu there came to be known as Alvarnath. And that Alvarnath has now become Alarnath and then became Alalnath and so on. So that is Lord Vishnu. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, after taking darshan of the Lord at Snan Yatra, would go to Alarnath because he could not bear the separation from Jagannath. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would see Jagannath not just as Jagannath, but he would see him as Shyama Sundar, Krishna playing the flute in Vrindavan. That was the vision that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had when he took darshan of Lord Jagannath. So, Mahaprabhu would go there and he would stay there for the period of the Anavasara. Now the question may be asked, why did Mahaprabhu go to see a deity of Lord Vishnu, even though Vishnu is the same as Krishna, but there is a difference in the bhava, in the rasa. Who is Jagannath? Jagannath is Krishna in Dwarka, but feeling separation from the residents of Vrindavan, especially from the gopis and especially from Srimati Radharani. So Lord Jagannath is none other than Krishna, who is feeling intense separation from Radharani and the Brajabasis. So he is a form of separation, viraha. So he's called the Mahabhava Prakash, because Prakash means the manifestation. He manifests a Mahabhava, an extreme state of feeling separation, and therefore Krishna's form gets transformed in that astonishing way, where the two arms get pulled in, the legs get pulled in, his eyes become round, and that is how Lord Jagannath's form comes. So since he's the Mahabhava Prakash, the mood of separation, and Mahaprabhu would see him as Krishna playing the flute in Vrindavan, why did he go to Alarnath to see a four-handed form of Vishnu? But actually, it is described that this four-handed form of Vishnu is only externally a form of Vishnu, but Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur explains an esoteric reason behind it. He says that one time, just before the Rasa Leela happened in Vrindavan, the gopis began to associate with Krishna. And they began to feel a little proud that they were associating with Krishna. Now, even a little bit of pride is not tolerated by Krishna, especially in Vrindavan. So, out of mercy towards his beloved gopis, he became invisible. He disappeared from there. And the gopis, in the great agony of separation, began to search for him here and there in Vrindavan. And incidentally, that is how the Gopi Geet also happens to be sung. So they were looking here and there for Krishna, and they came very close to where Krishna was hiding behind a bush. And Krishna realized that there was now no time to run away or hide anywhere else. So what to do? So the gopis suddenly came in front of him. So what did Krishna do? He is a master of disguise. So he suddenly changed his form into the form of four-handed Narayan or Vishnu. And when the gopis, they saw this, naturally, someone is going to get the wrath of Narasimha Bhagwan. So please switch off your phones if you do not want to face the anger of Lord Narasimha. Yes, this should be a permanent lesson for everyone, not just in this temple, in all temples, wherever Katha goes on. So when the gopis saw this four-handed form of Lord Narayan, definitely they offered obeisances. But they didn't act like any other devotees would have. If Lord Narayan were to appear right in front of us, we would not only offer obeisances, we would start offering prayers, we would start rendering services of various sorts. But the gopis had no time for that. They wanted to see Krishna, who is the same as Vishnu, but because of the difference in the bhava or the rasa, they were more interested in finding out where Krishna was. The flute player, the cow herder, the son of Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj. So after having offered their namaskar, their obeisance to Vishnu, they said, "Can you please tell us which way Krishna went?" And then with one or two or three or four of his hands, I don't know how that pastime, Lord Vishnu or Krishna pointed in a certain direction, so the gopis went there. So that four-handed form of Krishna, that Leela, happened at a place near Govardhan, in the longer Parikrama road of Govardhan, in a place called Paitha. So those of you who have done Govardhan Parikrama, the longer route, you may know about this. How many of you have gone to this place called Paitha in Braj? 1, 2, very few. 3, 4, only few. So the next time you go to Brajabhumi, if you can, and you certainly will go to Govardhan, also try to go to Paitha. There's still a small temple there. So Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur explained that this deity of Lord Vishnu, four-armed form in Alarnath, actually is related to that pastime in Paitha. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to see this four-armed form of Vishnu as the two-armed Krishna in Vrindavan, who was in disguise, who was in the mood of the Rasa Leela. And because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself, but he is in the mood of Srimati Radharani, feeling separation from Krishna. And here was the four-armed form of Vishnu, who is actually who is Krishna, feeling separation from the gopis. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu experienced symptoms that were even more intense than in Jagannath Puri. And there is a little Shila. Shila means a stone, a black stone in front of the temple there, which has the impressions of the chest of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu offered his obeisances in front of Alvarnath, because of his ecstasy, the stone melted, and the impression of his chest is still there in that stone. So in any case, this happens in Anavasara period. The deity is getting painted, and here the devotees have gone to Alarnath, heartbroken because they cannot get the darshan of Lord Jagannath. And they're all eagerly waiting for this Anavasara period to get over so they can come back and have darshan of Lord Jagannath. In this way, the Ashad month, the first Paksha, what Paksha is that? Krishna Paksha. The Krishna Paksha gets over on Amavasya. Oh, again, you'll please check your phones. It's a big aparat to the Lord. When Katha is going on, we should be careful to avoid this. So, when the next Paksha of the Ashad month begins, which Paksha is that? Shukla Paksha. Shukla means white or bright. So from now on, from Amavasya, the moon will start getting brighter and brighter till it reaches Purnima, which is its brightest. So now in the first day the Pratipat, Ashadha Shukla Pratipat, two events happen, very significant events. Sometimes the Gundicha Marjan, the cleaning of the Gundicha temple happens on this day, sometimes maybe a day earlier also. And another very important festival happens on this day, which is that. Anyone can say that? Say it. Netrotsava. Netrotsava. So these two events generally happen on the Ashad Shukla Pratipat. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to go with his devotees to Gundicha Mandir and do a thorough cleanup of the temple, a Maha cleaning. A Maha cleaning of the type that perhaps we will never see. Actually, it is a good idea in every temple. I don't know if you have it here. In every temple, on certain occasions, all the devotees should gather and do a Maha cleanup of the temple. The daily cleaning happens on several occasions. That, of course, has to be there. The floor is cleaned, wiped, swept, etc. But there are certain things that can't be done on a daily basis, like cleaning the ceiling, cleaning the walls, the pillars. Every little thing has to be cleaned. So sometimes on the Gundicha Marjana day, devotees gather and do a Maha cleaning of the temple. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would go with his followers, with his devotees, to Gundicha temple. Why did he go there? Because when the Lord comes out of his temple, the Jagannath temple in Puri, and he sits on the Rath Yatra proceeds to approximately 2 kilometers away, this Gundicha temple. Gundicha was the queen of Indradyumna. So in her honor, he had named this a Gundicha temple. And that is considered to be Vrindavan. And the Jagannath temple is considered to be Dwarka. So, because the Lord is going to move along this in the Rath Yatra, and he's going to stay there for a few days. Therefore, in preparation for the arrival of Lord Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra, Sudarshan, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his followers would thoroughly clean that temple. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami has given a very elaborate description of this whole pastime. And perhaps someday, I'm sure you have all heard of this, the detailed narration of this pastime. So that would happen on the Pratipat Tithi of the Shukla Paksha of the Ashad month. And then the devotees are all ready. They come to the temple on that same day, the Pratipat, in the early morning hours for the Netrotsava ceremony. So the Netrotsava ceremony also happens on this Tithi, the Pratipat, which is the first Tithi. The second is Dvitiya. So the Rath Yatra will happen on the second Tithi, which is Dvitiya. So Ashad Shukla Dvitiya is the Tithi on which the Rath Yatra happens, and the Tithi before that, the Pratipat, is when this beautiful festival called the Netrotsava happens. So the Netrotsava is also part of the Prana Pratishtha ceremony of any deity of Lord Krishna, or any Vishnu deity basically. So what happens is, when the deity has to be installed, then many ceremonies and rituals take place, and many mantras are chanted. It's a very elaborate process. You all saw it when the deities were installed here in this temple. So one of the final stages of the Prana Pratishtha is this Netron Milinam, when the eyes of the deity are opened. And there is a process for doing that. There's a strip of cloth tied around the eyes of the deities. And then after certain rituals have been done, the cloth is opened, and now the Lord can see everyone. And everyone can see the eyes of the Lord. Now, for Lord Jagannath, the Navakalevara happens. That is the changing of the deity himself. That happens on certain occasions. We won't talk about it now. It's called Navakalevara. He gets a new body, that is a new deity. But because in the Anavasara period, he is repainted, it is called Angarag. Angarag or Nava Yauvana, because he has now got a fresh coat of paint. And he looks fresh and youthful again after being decorated in that way. It's also called Nava Yauvana. So the Netrotsava is also called the Nava Yauvanotsava. Nava Yauvana Utsava. And this is also the day that when the eyes are opened and final touches to the paint are given, then Lord Jagannath now sees everyone and everyone can see the eyes of Lord Jagannath. So there is a whole process that happens. There is some ointments are applied to the eyes of Lord Jagannath. And after that, to his right eye, there is a tulsi stick. A stick from the tulsi plant is taken, dipped in honey, and the right ear of the Lord, that is Lord Jagannath, is touched, and certain mantras are chanted. Then again, a tulsi stick is taken, dipped in honey, and the left eye of Lord Jagannath is touched with the chanting of mantras. And then, finally, some collyrium, you call it kajal in India, that is applied to the lower part of the eyes of Lord Jagannath. And now the Netrotsava is complete, and everyone, this is the moment that lakhs of devotees are hankering for, waiting for. Now they all come with great jubilation to see the eyes of the Lord. It's a joyous occasion. That is what an Utsav is. An Utsava is an occasion of joy. It is a celebration. And what does it literally mean? Ut means to remove. Sava means worldly sorrows or grief. So Utsava means that occasion which is an occasion of delight, which removes all one's suffering. Manava Utsava Priyaha, all human beings like festivals. Because they get tired of the humdrum life they lead, the monotonous existence, go to work, come back, quarrel at home, go to work next day again, come back. So they want something new, some exciting thing, some delight. So they organize cricket matches, Olympic games, movie festivals, some utsava. So they want some festival or the other. His Holiness Lokanath Maharaj was mentioning one time that when he was coming to Belgaum from somewhere, on the road he saw a huge advertisement, Matanotsava. So people need some festival. But unless that festival is genuinely centered on Krishna, on devotional service, that Utsava cannot truly remove our grief. It cannot truly be a cause of happiness or delight to all of us. So genuinely speaking, Utsava means a devotional festival. So Netra Utsava, an Utsava or a festival of the eyes. It has two meanings. One way to look at Netrotsava is that it is a festival for the eyes of the devotees. Because the devotees are now able to feast their eyes on the beautiful eyes of Lord Jagannath and the beautiful form of Lord Jagannath. So in that sense, Netrotsava means it is a festival for the eyes of the devotees of the Lord. A second meaning of Netrotsava is that it is a festival in which the eyes of Lord Jagannath now manifest. And he is also able to display his eyes, which are very beautiful, so that the devotees can see. In that sense, this is also a festival for Lord Jagannath's eyes. So these are the two meanings of Netrotsava. So Lord Jagannath has this beautiful festival, and the next day actually then is the Rath Yatra. So as this Netrotsava happens, many people They come in large numbers because they have been starved of this darshan of Lord Jagannath for 15 days. And now they're really hankering for the darshan. So they all come, and there's an uproarious scene out there at the Netrotsava time. And now, because Jagannath has been restored to full youth, his appetite is back to normal. And now he doesn't drink only medicinal, he doesn't drink fruit juices, and he doesn't partake only of medicinal herbs. Now he wants his full meals. No deity amongst all the deities of the Lord eat as much as Lord Jagannath. He has a voracious appetite and unlimited appetite. In fact, in Jagannath Puri, it is said that Lord Jagannath's hands are never dry. Because when we take prasadam, then we wash our hands, isn't it? And then even if you don't wipe it, it becomes dry after some time. There's a lot of time that elapses before the next meal. At least I hope. But Lord Jagannath, the moment he takes one meal, bhoga, it's time for another meal to be offered. So continuous meals are being offered. So therefore, he's Anna Brahma, Jagannath. In Pandharpur, they say he's Nada Brahma because there's always chanting of mantras and bhajans going on. So he's Nada Brahma. So like that, there are different names. So now that Jagannath his appetite is restored, now he begins to eat. And the kitchen of Lord Jagannath is world famous for producing huge quantities of bhoga. And in a way, according to traditional methods, that will bewilder us. They don't allow usually people to come in and see, but they have pots one on top of the other, and there is a fire in the middle, and all the pots, the rice and the dal, whatever, gets cooked perfectly. So it's almost like a miraculous event that happens there every single day, many times a day. And then that Mahaprasadam of the Lord, after being offered to Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra, etc., that Mahaprasadam is taken to Bimala Devi, who is Yogamaya. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur called his son, one of his sons, Bimala Prasad, the mercy of Bimala Devi, Yogamaya. So that Mahaprasad of Lord Jagannath is offered to Bimala Devi, and only then it is truly considered Mahaprasad, and then it can be distributed to everyone. Before that, it is not distributed. So anyway, Lord Jagannath now starts eating his full bhoga. And then all the devotees, they come there in great happiness, and they now can get all the Mahaprasadam of Lord Jagannath. Earlier, not only were they not able to have darshan of the Lord, but they were not even able to eat the Mahaprasadam of Lord Jagannath. Now they're able to do both things. In this way, the Netrotsava ceremony is celebrated. Now, I think it's 8 o'clock, and what time do we end? We'll end now because it's a working day tomorrow for most of you. So we'll stop here. But what we'll do is, tomorrow, we'll continue the discussion on Netrotsava from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. We'll follow the narration of Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami on how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his followers celebrated this festival, Netrotsava. And after the Netrotsava festival is over, on the Pratipatti Tithi of the Shukla Paksha of the month of Ashad, on the next day, that is the Dvitiya Tithi, there is the glorious Rath Yatra festival that happens. And the Rath Yatra festival, as we all know, is where the Lord, he is seated on the chariots, and he's taken to Gundicha temple. In Gundicha temple, he stays there for roughly 8 days. And approximately on the Navami, sometime Dashami, he is brought back in the carts. So that is called the Ulta Rath or the Bahuda Rath. In Puri, The Rath Yatra is called the Gundicha Yatra. That is the main yatra in which the deities of Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra are taken from Jagannath temple to Gundicha temple. We call it Rath Yatra, but in Puri it is called Gundicha Yatra. Once the deities reach Gundicha, they stay there for 8 or 9 days, and the devotees go there to have darshan also. Then the return journey is called the Ulta Rath, but they call it the Bahuda Rath in Puri. So that happens, this time it is on the Navami Tithi, Ashad Shukla Navami Tithi, sometimes Dashami also. So then the Lord is back in the temple there. Now in between also, when the Lord is in Gundicha temple, some pastimes happen. One pastime is called the Hera Panchami pastime, where Lakshmi Devi comes in her element. And because Jagannath has taken leave of Lakshmi Devi, and he has gone to Gundicha temple, where Vrajavasis are there, Radharani is there. And now he has to take permission from his wife to leave. So he tells her, and she says, how long will you be away? And he says, I'll be back in just 2 days. He doesn't come back. It may sound familiar to some of you, this whole episode. And then he doesn't come back 3rd day, 4th day. Finally, Lakshmi Devi loses patience and she summons the servants of Lord Jagannath. And there's a wonderful pastime that takes place where she comes in the cart and she has a stick, and her followers, they beat the servants of Jagannath like anything with sticks. What kind of master do you have? He makes a promise that he's going to come back in 2 days, and now 3rd day, 4th day, still he hasn't come back. And they all promise, yes, he will come back, he will come back. And then Lord Jagannath, he still takes his time, because this is only the Panchami Tithi. He stays for another few days, and on the Navami then he returns. And after having returned on the Navami or Dashami, then of course preparations are on for the Ekadashi, the 11th day. And that is the Shayana Ekadashi or the Deva Shayani Ekadashi, in which Lord Mahavishnu in the Karana Sagar, the causal ocean, he sleeps. And Chaturmas begins for 4 months. So, and at that, then the next day is also celebrated. That Dwadashi is Maha Ekadashi, celebrated with great fervor by everybody. And ultimately, it is only on the last Tithi of this month, when the Purnima comes again, that the Rath Yatra festival, the entire festival, is considered to be completed. So it starts from before the Snan Yatra in Jyeshtha and ends on the last day of the Ashad month. So this entire period is like the Rath Yatra festival. And the actual Ratha Yatra, the journey, happens on a particular day, which is Ashad Shukla Dvitiya, and the return journey happens on Ashad Shukla Navami. So that return journey, these are only 2 events that's part of the larger festival. So that whole period can be considered to be the Rath Yatra festival. So Jagannath temple is a very special temple. The deities there are very special. The customs, the traditions, the worship is all very unique. Although there are many common factors with other temples, other Vaishnava temples, but in Jagannath temple, there are many unique features not found anywhere else. And some of the festivals and occasions and ceremonies that are observed there are also very special. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu lived there and he enjoyed these festivals year after year for several years. So we'll stop here, and tomorrow we'll begin by discussing how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu celebrated the Netrotsava festival, And then briefly, we can talk about the Rath Yatra or the ceremony, the procession in which Lord Jagannath goes to the Gundicha temple. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna.